Just wait for Pete to come back.
Go back and check the policy.
I think he's on the phone.
Let's talk. Oh, what? Hang up then. Sorry.
No problem. Okay, let's get started. So welcome everyone to our regular Police Services Board meeting today, Tuesday, March 8th, 5:30 p.m. So we will start with roll call. It looks like everyone is in attendance with the exception of member Bill Unger. Do you have the next item, any disclosure of interest? Sorry. Seeing none. Okay, we can move into the confirmation of agenda. Bobby, do you have a resolution?
That the Aylmer Police Services Board approves the March 8th, 2022 agenda as presented.
Okay, could I get a mover, please? Okay, seconder. All right, the agenda is fine as presented. Any errors, omissions, inclusions? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Moving on to adoption of minutes, minutes from February 8th, 2022, and the resolution, please.
That the Aylmer Police Services Board adopts the February 8th, 2022 minutes as written.
Okay, and a mover?
I so move.
Okay, seconder?
Second.
Okay. Any errors, anything that anyone could see with the minutes from February 8th? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? All right, and that is carried. Thank you. So moving on, there are no delegations this evening, so we can move into number 6, unfinished business. The first item, Police Services Board policies, nothing at this time.
Can I, Madam Chair?
Oh, yes.
Could I ask a question? I've been on the board this round for 18 months, and I should have asked it earlier. Can somebody explain to me in 10 words why we keep deferring this?
So we are waiting, and please anyone jump in at any time, but we are waiting for direction on the Police Services Board policies, and so we haven't received complete direction on that. Bobby, do you have a follow-up or anything else that you can add on that?
Through you, Madam Chair, just basically when the Police Services Act, when things get updated in that, then we will need to change our policies in accordance to that. So just waiting on any changes that come forth from that.
Good luck with that. Good luck with that. Thank you.
Yes. Great. That answers your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thanks. No problem. So moving into B, bylaw 12-2022, PSB procedural bylaw. This is the third and final reading. Bobby, do you have a resolution for that, please?
that the Aylmer Police Services Board gives third and final readings to bylaw 1-2022, being the board's procedural bylaw.
Okay, could I get someone to move that?
I'll move it.
Seconder?
I'll
All
second
right.
it. Before
Okay.
we vote, Madam Chair, if I may interrupt,
Yes. Yes.
there's a number of areas that seem incorrect in the bylaw, and so I would like to point to where changes are needed. Can I do that?
Yes. Do you want me to share my screen?
Right. I'm looking. The first one would be item number 13, which I'm not sure what page it's on.
Let me just bring that up.
Page 3.
Page 3.
Okay, so please, can everyone see my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. Okay.
So
And
number
what was,
number 13A says,
Yeah.
number 13, there it is. Members of the public who constitute the audience at the board's meeting may not address the board with permission of the chair. I believe you should say without permission of the chair. Correct?
Okay.
All right, and looking at now number under closed session meetings, item 2A. It does say meetings of the board shall be open to the public except where the following matters are to be discussed. Matters involving public security may be, I think those are two words, may be disclosed rather than may be disclosed. These are picky points, but after all, it is kind of the Constitution that we go by, so it's important.
Sure.
The wording's still kind of weird, but we'll leave it at that. Matters involving public security may be disclosed, and having regard to the circumstances, the desirability of hearing to the principle that proceedings be open to the public, or there's something missing there in that description, and I believe that what's missing is in B. If you look at the wording behind the word circumstances, that should be included after circumstances. In B it says, having regard to the circumstances, comma, that the desirability of avoiding their disclosure in the interest of any person affected or in the public interest outweighs the desirability of adhering. So that whole thing is missing in there to give it some sense.
Do we have a reference to the prior bylaw that we could reference, Bobby? Or was that the changed one of the ones that yeah, we did a change on?
Well, yeah, as it stands, 2A doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Okay. How would we like to address this? Do we want it? Do we want to fix this right now? Do we want to bring it back at our next meeting for the third and final reading?
Madam Chair, I don't see any reason to kind of bring it back because basically the wording is just, I believe, just an omission of wording that is similar to item B. I don't know what the rest of you feel, but I think it's just an omission there.
If I can just suggest, section 2A and B, two separate items. And I think that's why that or section or subsection B involves intimate financial or personal matters may be disclosed of such a nature having regard to the circumstances. I think there are two separate matters.
Well, they are. I agree. They are two separate matters. However, the reasons behind that are similar, I think, aren't they? Or either that or somehow we have to fix the wording in A because it makes no sense.
Let me just read through it again. So what do you anticipate should be in there?
Well, I anticipate that what should be in there is simply just the general. Well, the first one deals with public security. The second one deals with personal matters.
Mm-hmm.
The disclosure in the interest of any person affected really is the basically the disclosure of any items involving public security uh, outweigh the desirability of hearing to the principle the proceedings be open to the public, right? So that's why you're saying that the desirability of avoiding disclosure of public security issues
Mm-hmm.
override or outweigh the desirability of hearing to the principles that proceedings be open to the public, or just leave that second sentence out. I know I'm being picky, but when you look at that, somebody looks at that and says, well, what are they talking about there in A? I mean, they're talking about involving public security, but what are they talking about when they say the desirability of adhering to the principle? Or am I wrong here? You have people saying, if I'm being too picky, let me know.
I guess, I mean, it's up to, does anybody else want to weigh in on this? I don't think this was an item that was changed from the past bylaw, so I'm not sure unless there was something missing from it.
Through you, Madam Chair, that is the wording in the previous year's bylaw.
Okay. Okay. So, I mean, we can make the change. Sorry. Go ahead, Member Barber.
Madam Chair, I share Jack's opinion that there's something amiss in A. I'm not sure what it's trying to say.
Yeah, I think it's trying to say that disclosure of, disclosure of public security items outweigh the desirability of adhering to being open to the public. I think that's what it's trying to say, right? However, the wording doesn't say that.
Okay, so how would we reword this that it would make sense to use and to anyone else that would be interested in reading this document? Any suggestions?
Well, I can make one if you like. After
Certainly.
in A, after the word circumstances, comma,
Mm-hmm.
I would add that the desirability of avoiding disclosure of matters involving public security outweighs the desirability, etc., of adhering to the principle. I can say that again if you wish.
Yeah, say that again. And Bobby, I'm not sure if you're taking notes or and then we can read it back and I guess vote at that time if we feel like those changes make sense.
Okay. Would you like me to say it again?
Yeah, and how about we start right from matters involving public security?
Okay. Hopefully I can remember what I said, but matters involving public security may be disclosed, which really means they can't be disclosed, but matters involving public security may be disclosed, and having regard to the circumstances that the desirability of avoiding disclosure of public security matters outweighs, and then you continue what's already there, outweighs the desirability of hearing to the principle that proceedings be open to the public.
Okay.
So basically, you're just saying in item A that avoiding the disclosure of public security matters outweighs the the desirability of adhering to open.
Okay.
So I can say it again if Bobby hasn't gotten it.
Yeah, somehow that doesn't sound right.
What I said doesn't sound right?
Well, let's see maybe what it looks like in type.
Okay.
Bobby can't make the change. I'm
Oh, okay.
presenting. So she would have to make the change and read it back if that's how we want it to read. And then we can vote and agree or disagree on that change.
Through you, Madam Chair, if you do wish to have this put in print and brought back to the next meeting, just to make sure that it is how the board wishes it to be, it might be a little easier just for people to read it over and make sure that that's how they really want to see it.
Yeah,
Right.
I would agree with that.
I would agree with that.
Yes. Okay. All right. So we will request those changes. So it was closed session meetings 2A, and then it was members. What was the other one? Sorry.
It may not address the board without
Right.
permission of the chair rather than
Right.
with.
So we're missing the out right
Yeah.
there. Yeah. Okay.
Is there anything else, Jack?
Well, there was, I'm sorry to take up more time, but there was, at the end there was near the end, we were talking about, could you go right to the end? Oops, back up, that one. Guidelines for Aylmer Police Services Negotiations, Chief of Police. I'm not sure what that's saying because the title of it talks about the Chief of Police, but I'm not sure what role the Chief of Police is being alluded to here. Well, it says all matters relating to the negotiation shall be completed in a formal meeting by the appointed board members, the chief, the board secretary, the board solicitor, etc. So is this talking about the report by the board's negotiating committee? I mean, what is it? It's really not clear, and maybe it's just me not seeing it.
So I'll take a stab at this one, and I would suggest that the guidelines for Aylmer Police Services negotiations around the Chief of Police. So whether that is a change in contract, if it's anything to do with with the Chief of Police, that these measures would be put in place. And that's very general. And if that's how it should be in principle, generalized. Anyone else? I believe that this one was also one that was just carried forward. This wasn't changed from the previous agreement. Am I wrong on that?
Would it clarify the issue if just the reference to the Chief of Police in the title be taken out?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I agree there here.
If you just delete that, then the two paragraphs make sense.
So you're suggesting taking out Chief of Police. So just guidelines for Aylmer Police Services negotiations and removing
Yes.
Chief of Police?
Correct. The chief is mentioned in number 1.
Yes.
There isn't a reference to anybody except the board in number 2.
Right. So that's why I would assume that Chief of Police would be in the subject line, because otherwise, who would we be negotiating with, other than the Chief of Police? Any negotiations? Who else would they be with? I guess is my question.
Excuse me, Madam Chair. So therefore, item 1 refers to negotiating with the Chief of Police. Is that what that refers to? Because it really doesn't say that.
Yeah.
It just says that the board's negotiating committee shall be comprised of at least 2 members.
I think that's for the selection of the Chief of Police, and you'll have to have the same thing now with the appointment deputy chief. You're going to have to include him because the board specifically picks the chief of police under the Police Services Act, that's one of your mandates, is to pick the chief of police and the deputy chief of police,
Right.
which this guy in here refers to. It's not for the negotiations of the contractual agreement with the association.
Right.
So really what this deals with is the guidelines for negotiating with the chief of police and the deputy chief of police. Is that what you're saying? That's what this is. It really doesn't formally say that, but I mean, I guess we may not want to formally say that, because all that it refers to is that is a formal meeting by the appointed board members, the chief, etc. You mean this is a formal negotiating meeting? Is that what that means? A formal negotiation meeting?
For the position of the chief of police and the deputy chief of police. That's
Right.
my of it.
All right, if that's the intent, why don't we just say for the positions of the chief of police and the deputy chief?
Yep, that would work because essentially it's the same thing. They're separate contracts from the association.
Right. So I would, I would really like to make it clear what is being said there. Is that you need to negotiate with the chief of police and the deputy chief of police in a separate negotiation.
Does changing the title, adding those two positions, clarify that?
Not for me, but I'm being picky. But nevertheless, it doesn't change it for me. Is it?
It's okay.
So guidelines for Aylmer Police Services negotiations, chief of police and deputy chief. But what do you want? What do you want in the subject line that would clarify it for you? Like contracts or
one word I would like to say.
Encompasses everything.
One word for me would clarify it a bit more. It said in the second sentence in there, it said all matters relating to the negotiation shall be completed in a formal, I guess, all matters relating to negotiations with the chief and the deputy chief shall be completed in a formal meeting. So it clarifies that we're talking about negotiations with the chief and the deputy.
Sure. Yep. That makes sense. So we just need to change the title and then add in the excuse me, the words negotiations with the chief
And the deputy chief. Maybe that's understood, but sometimes things that seem to be understood don't get understood when you're pressed in negotiations, right?
I think you got to exclude the word "and" the deputy chief.
Yes, right.
Contracts, or should be the chief or the deputy chief, because negotiations are done differently for both positions.
Right.
You can't have the deputy chief involved in the chief's negotiations, but you couldn't necessarily have the vice versa.
Okay, that makes sense. Yes.
Okay. So Bobby, did you get clear direction on that change?
Through you, Madam Chair, yes, I think I'm good with that, and I will forward that out to the board again for review.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. So we will, there's a resolution on the table. So we will have to change that resolution and bring it back to the next meeting in April.
So we're just voting to defer the
I would
agreement?
suggest that, yes. But Bobby will have to change that resolution. That's all. Is that okay?
Through you, Madam Chair, that the Aylmer Police Services Board will defer item 6B and will defer it until the April 12th meeting for review.
Is that satisfactory to the mover and seconder?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. Any further questions, concerns with this? Seeing none, all those in favor? You'll have to speak. I'm presenting, so I can't see anyone.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and that's carried. Thank you. Okay, moving on, we have new business, the annual, the police annual report. And Bobby, I believe you have a resolution for this.
That the Aylmer Police Services Board approves the 2021 annual report as presented on March 8th, 2022, and further that this document will be forwarded to Town Council.
All right, and I need a mover and a
So
seconder.
moved.
Okay,
I'll second it.
thank you. All right, any comments or questions around the 2021 annual report?
Madam Chair, just just a brief one after talking so much in the last one. A great report. It's amazingly thorough and well done. So I applaud the chief for putting that together. It's really great.
Agreed. Thank you. Anyone else? I'd just like to say that, yeah, there was a lot of work into this report, and there's a lot of really great information. It really dives deep into the police service. So it's nice to read. It's nice to see, and great job on everyone involved. Thank you.
And Madam Chair,
Yes.
I do have one small question, however.
Yes.
Page
Yes.
41, you don't need to scroll to it. On page 41, there's a mention of a drone. So I guess I want to ask the chief, have we used a drone and what we do with it if we have?
Yeah, so through you, Madam Chair, we extensively use the drone for the COVID protests, specifically around the area. Actually, we ended up getting a general warrant to be able to fly the drone.
Yes.
We were gathering evidence at the COG for the ROA charges and post that event. So predominantly we used the St. Thomas's Fire Department's drone for that particular event. We felt through our emergency management committee that it would be a great tool to have available to us for other events or potential incidents. We purchased one for ourselves, and we have 2 officers that are fully trained on how to operate it, and some of the members of the fire department. So it's a shared resource between us and the fire department that we can use it if they have a major fire structure or whatever. They'll be able to utilize the drone to take photographs and perhaps even use it as a tool to be able to look at some of the areas that are dangerous for the fire department to access based on the footage that they would get from the drone.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Great. Any other questions, comments? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. Thank you. And that's carried. Okay, moving on with the reports. And Bobby, you have a resolution for this.
Through you, Madam Chair, did you want the chief to go through each report first before we?
Yeah, we can
With
do that too.
resolution.
That's fine. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, through you, Madam Chair, I'll take you to the police budget. Nothing unusual in pretty much every category. We salaries and wages for the full-time, we're at 13% spent. Part-time program, 9%. There's nothing real significant here that causes me any concerns. When you look at all the salaries, wages for the full-time and part-time program, including the benefit packages, we're at 13% for the year for the first 2 months. So no concerns there at all. Same thing with the other direct operating expenses. There's nothing unusual that causes me any concerns right now. We just received a new cruiser. It's all equipped, works great. Actually, by accident, they sent us the one that's got the, it's a electric and gas type of a vehicle. So when it's operated at low speed, it's powered by electricity. When it's at higher speeds, it's powered by gas, obviously. It was a little bit more money, so it'll be interesting to see how that translates into fuel savings at the end of the year. Nick just went down to the fuel depot, and we've identified each cruiser, so we'll be able to track each cruiser's usage of fuel and the efficiency as a result of this new vehicle, and see what the difference is for perhaps future purchases next year and beyond. So yeah, total expenditure so far year to date, we're at 14.
Chief, what make and model is the new cruiser?
It's a BMW 8 Series.
Oh.
It's a Ford Explorer. No, it's a regular vehicle. There's some services. I know Peel's using it, and also I believe Gulf Police Service using it. More and more services are jumping on board with the dual type of a powered vehicle.
Hybrid.
Hybrid. That's the word that I'm looking for. Thank you. So yeah, anyway, so far so good. We just got it today, so I think it's going to be interesting to see as we move into the future what kind of savings it's going to give us, especially with the fuel prices the way they are right now. Going back to the budget again, no issues or concerns here. We're at 14% overall. Moving on to the Police Services Board budget. No issues there as well, 9% year to date. And again, the total between the Police Services Board budget and the Police Services budget, we're at 14%. So no real concerns here at all. Unless anybody has any questions, I'll continue on. Okay, moving on to the reports. The crime prevention, we had one high-risk DVI meeting, no Crime Stopper tips this month. Community patrol officers logged in for the month of February, 50 incidents of foot patrol for 48.25 hours in total, on par to what we had last year. Total for the year is 6.25. In comparison to last year, we had 63.75. So good job being done there. Obviously, with the inclement weather, we have no bicycle patrols going on right now. The plan is to send 2 officers, additional officers to bicycle patrol training. And Nick's looking after that aspect of it. I believe London City is hosting a bicycle course in May, and we're planning on sending 2 officers, so the hours will increase even more so in that area. Criminal investigations, field sobriety, we had 1 officer trained so far this year. Criminal charges, a total of 12 for the year, 7 for the month of February. 0 youth. Drug investigations, we had 1, again with marijuana readily available. Just want to bring the board up to speed. We did execute 2 search warrants just at the beginning of the month, 2nd of March, as a matter of fact, and very successful execution of the warrant. It was for drugs. Lots of, or quite a bit of quantity of drugs were seized. Also some prohibited weapons, stolen property. The officer that was responsible for that investigation is still sifting through some of the property, which we suspected it's stolen, and further charges are going to be laid there. And the second one that we executed on Sydenham Street, we're still processing the evidence there, and a whole bunch of charges are going to be laid in relation to that property. In addition, the people that were found within particularly the Sydenham Street residents. They were wanted by other services for some very serious offenses. So it was nice to be able to pick them up and basically bring them back before courts to deal with some of the charges that other services had from as far as Barrie and obviously the city of London. So lots of people are coming into the small town and obviously engaging in criminal activity and also drug subculture. So good work was done there by our people. We did use London OPP tactical team for the entry for one of the residents. For the other one, because we don't have dynamic entry trained officers, we utilized St. Thomas PD to do the entry for us, secure the found-ins, and from there, our officers completed the entire investigation into those two incidents or those two locations. So good work was done there. I think we're well over 35, 40 charges between the two locations, and more are coming. Public complaints. We did have one internal complaint that I assigned to Nick to investigate. The matter has been resolved by way of an informal resolution, and nothing further to report on that. 9/11 calls. We had 7 for the month of February, total of 20, which is relatively the same as what we had last year at 24. Assisting other agencies, 18 total, same as previous month, slightly lower than last year when we were at 44 for the 2 months. Sexual assaults, we had 2 for the month of February, 3 in total, and 100% clearance rates. Violent crime rates, we had 4 incidents reported. 10 have been reported, 7 solved for the percentage of 70% for the year. Also, just to bring the board up to speed, we did assign an officer on a temporary basis on a trial basis to in a crime unit. So that officer is assigned any benchmark incidents such as the sexual assaults, the drug investigation. He was responsible for that as well. So far, that position is paying great dividends for us in clearance rates and also curbing some of these drug activities. So a great resource for us to have. And also there's a lot of consistency there, and he's able to assist the officers on the road that otherwise wouldn't have the time to do some of the follow-ups, some which go outside of our jurisdiction. So that position is going to be a great resource for us when it comes to bench criminal investigations. MCM, 3 for the year, 2 for the month of February, just because of the sexual assaults. And same thing with the bike class booklets. Nick kind of looks after that portfolio, and they're all up to date. Social media, 53,000 views in the month of February for a total of 65 for the year. 4 posts, total for the year is 7. Clearance rates for property crime. We had 10 incidents reported, 2 were solved. So far, year to date, 21 incidents, 4 have been solved for a 19% clearance rate in comparison to last year when we were at 14.3. So again, a lot of good work is being done there with the follow-ups by the officers, and also the video footage is very much the key in solving some of these crimes as well. So a lot more businesses are utilizing, and even private residences are utilizing security footage, and that's a good tool for us to be able to solve some of these crimes. School visits, we had 1 presentation done by the officer responsible for that area so far. That is still under suspension. In fact, we have been notified by the school board that the program is still under review, and there will be no further delivery of any type of programs until that review is completed. So we'll just hopefully by September, we'll have an answer one way or the other as far as either resuming them or totally eliminating them. Trouble with youth. We had 2 for the month of February, total for 3. No issues there. Situation hub meeting, we had 4, total 8 for the year. Unsolved follow-ups, 78 for the month of February, a total of 122 for the year. Provincial offenses, officers are continuing with a great job on traffic enforcement, criminal code enforcement, and also other statutes for a total of 155. Again, higher than what we had last year. So a lot of good work continues to be done by the front line. Ride programs, we had 6 for 245 stops. We had 1 ASD test that was completed, and a 3-day suspension was issued. And impaired driving, we had 1 for the month of February for a total of 2 for the year. Prisoners processed, again, we had 5 males, 2 females, 2 have been held for bails, and 5 were released. Training, again, we're into the block training right now where the officers complete their 4-day mandatory training to make sure that they're current on their use of force and other legislation. And that continues. We did change the venue there. We used to go to Middlesex, which was about an hour drive for the officers. Nick and I discussed that, and that's been changed now to the Tillsonburg office of the OPP. We do joint training with them, and obviously Tillsonburg is only a 25-minute drive, and the firearms training is done at the Ontario Police College. So that's going to save us some time, and also much closer for the officers to travel on a daily basis for these mandatory training sessions. Wellness program, we had 1 officer complete the fitness pin. So far we had 2, which is great. And again, with respect to the budget, we're at 14%. Last year we were at 15%. So again, on par with pretty much our targets when it comes to budgeting. Any questions on the report or any clarifications needed? Hearing none, I'll continue. Again, looking at some of the charts, violent crime rate to 10 so far this year. Property crime, 21. It looks like if this trend continues, we might be looking at exceeding the last year's numbers. But again, property crime is kind of fluent, so it depends on the month and who's in the area. So we'll keep monitoring that. Nothing with respect to the drug issue for the first months. You'll see a huge spike next month's report simply because of the search warrant that was executed. Domestic disputes, so far we've got 9. Again, looking at that trend based on the 2-month period, we may be looking at exceeding that for the year, and that's something that we'll continue to monitor. Motor vehicle collisions, 15 so far this year. 911 calls, 20, which is not too bad. Foot patrol hours, I already talked about that. No issues there. Mental health calls for service, they're spiking up quite a bit. We're at 17 already for the year. I was just at a meeting with the MCERT worker today and the OPP based on the 1-year anniversary of implementing the MCERT program. Some great work is being done by her. The statistics show that I believe it's around 90%. And when we go back to in-house meetings, I'll have her come to the Police Services Board meeting and present to you guys as far as what her role is and some of the stats that she gathers throughout the year. And I believe it's around 90% of people that we actually now take to the St. Thomas Hospital for an assessment are actually admitted. Prior to this position, you'd probably be looking at 50-50. So quite a bit of time is saved by not having to take these individuals to the hospital and have them sort of offer the support services that are available in the community to be able to deal with some of their daily issues. Any questions on the charts? Hearing none. Month of February has been relatively busy for both Nick and I as far as the meetings with the Ottawa issues going on, situation table teleconferences, HR management meeting around the issues of COVID and some of the changes there. Nick and I sat down, interviewed an experienced officer for potential future positions that might become available. Operation plans have been developed for the Freedom Rally that was held in Aylmer. I was online with the Inspired Academy Wellness teleconference. It's a group out of Toronto that is promoting sort of a mental health wellness for the officers, and we're kind of looking at to see what they have available, see if it fits our needs, and perhaps look at that option. Solgen's teleconferences regarding the ALPR technology. It looks like the province will have some money freed up to purchase ALPR technology. We already have one. We're hoping to secure the funding through this funding grant program for a second cruiser to be equipped with that technology. And Nick and I will be working on that as soon as the province announces requests for submissions. Southwest Public Health, again, teleconferences regarding COVID. No issues there. Budget I already talked about. We're operating at 14% of 100% budget. That's 3% below the projected of 16.6. So no issues there. Crime unit, I already talked about that position. That is on a temporary basis. We're kind of doing a trial to see how it works out for us. And if it works out well, then we're going to be looking at perhaps looking like a permanent position on a seconded basis. Provincial and local grant has been submitted to the ministry. I tweaked up the one for the local side. We haven't heard on the provincial one yet as far as where that's at. Looking at the other direct operating expenses, nothing unusual there. Everything's on target. And my activities for the month of February, schedule is up there, and no issues there. Lots of meetings. Only one shift was I was required to be a backup officer. So things are sort of kind of stabilizing in that area. And that's my report, Madam Chair, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that members may have.
Thank you. Sorry, we can do the resolution and then we can put the questions and comments out.
That the Aylmer Police Services Board adopts report items A to G of the March 8th, 2022 agenda.
Mover?
So moved.
Seconder?
So seconded.
All right. Any questions or comments for the chief or deputy chief for that matter? Okay. Seeing none. Oh, yes.
A couple more things that I want to bring up to the board. Last week, I submitted a half a page article in the Aylmer Express. I thought it was important for people to acknowledge. Not everybody reads our annual report. It's a large document, so the half page report that I had in the Aylmer Express was a snapshot of our work extracted from the annual report for the community to see what work the officers actually do. So I'm not sure if anybody has seen that in the paper. I believe it was middle section of the last week's Aylmer press. So that was the reason for that. Just so the public understands the work that's being done by the officers and the quality of service that they get from Aylmer Police, based on the taxpayers' dollars that they pay out. And I am in the process right now of we're done with our strategic 3-year strategic plan, and I'm working on the 2022-2024 3-year plan, which I'm hoping to be completed by the end of the month. There will be a survey that's going to be going out, and we're hoping that we'll have hopefully many citizens participating in it, just to kind of give us a feedback as far as what they like, what they don't like, what we need to tweak up, and what crimes they're concerned about. So if you see that in one of the surveys, if you're a resident of Aylmer, please partake in the process. As I said, it does give us a good indication of where we're at and what we need to tighten up on.
Okay.
And that's it for me.
Okay. Any questions or comments for the chief? No? Okay, great. Thank you. All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, thank you. And that is carried. Okay, moving on. We are moving on to our incoming correspondence. Just a few things here. OAPSB call for nominations. The OAPSB Spring Conference and AGM, which is May 26th. There was some interest from a board member that, and I'm not sure if that's still your direction, Member Cookett, that you would like to attend.
Well, I would, Madam Chair. I'm just curious, though, as what the cost would be, because if if it's in the hundreds of dollars, I don't think it's worth doing that. But perhaps since it's online, it might be cheaper. I didn't find a cost, so I haven't tried to register yet. Do you know what the cost is?
Through you, Madam.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead, Bobby.
Through you,
Thank
Madam
you.
Chair. There is an early bird rate for members. If you're doing it virtually, there is a $395.50 charge for doing it online for the early bird.
I don't think that I'm interested to that amount. Thanks. But I think that's too much for online, actually. But thanks for that.
Okay. All right. Just putting that out there, and just, as a follow-up,
Sure.
we have attended these in person, and this cost, it's quite expensive because of the, the fees plus the hotel stays too. So, I mean, if it is something that you're interested in, we would certainly have you sign up. So something to think about with the early bird rates continuing until April 1st. So yeah, just let us know.
Excuse me, are the rates the same for virtual as they are for in person?
Through you, Madam Chair, the in-person to attend is $508.50.
Okay.
And then costs to stay if you decided you didn't want to drive back and forth.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, and the next one is the OAPSB Zone 6 meeting, which is March 21st. So hoping that we see some members join in that meeting. And finally, we have Crisis in Police Governance webinar, and Member Cookett is going to give us a verbal update on this. So I will hand it over to you.
Okay. I will try. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I will try to be brief. It's past 6:30, so I'll try to wrap this up in just a few minutes. I noted that anytime a member goes to a webinar or a conference, according to the bylaw 1, part 4, it says that we're required to report to the board. So I guess I can use that as an excuse for talking a long time.
Excellent.
Yeah, I did attend the webinar. which was sponsored by the Canadian Association of Police Governance, entitled Crisis in Police Governance. I don't agree that there is a crisis. However, some interesting points were made, I think, that pertain to boards and police service as well. There were 223 participants across Canada in this particular webinar, and there were 9 panelists. There's a lot of ideas that were brought forward. I think the impetus for this particular webinar were the issues with police service boards in Thunder Bay, which was disbanded in 2018. There's still issues in Thunder Bay right now, and of course the Ottawa issue with the police service board there as well. So I think that was the impetus for this. The 9 panelists were fairly even-minded about what the issues were and what the solutions kind of were in terms of police service boards. And after listening to them for 2 hours, I began to wonder, I said, how would anybody ever want to be a member of a police service board based on all the things they said that we should do and shouldn't do and aren't doing and must do and all that kind of stuff? So, it's really a unique and great responsibility. The general concerns basically were that people who were members of police service board were not trained well enough. They didn't have resources to support the training that was necessary. They didn't have any independence from any level of government in terms of being able to do stuff. They didn't have a system that they could go to for best practices. And all of those are, I think, very valid kinds of criticisms. They pointed out that boards need to reflect community needs, and they need to balance these needs with police needs. And of course, that's like going between Scylla and Charybdis, a rock and a hard place. They need to provide oversight and accountability. In fact, a number of them said the police service boards don't exist to celebrate the chief of police. They exist to make the chief of police accountable. And I kind of disagree with that statement. I think that police service boards have a role in celebrating what the chief of police does, as well as making the chief of police accountable for what the police should be doing. So they didn't take that other side as well. So I think we are in a kind of conundrum as board members because we are, we get a stipend from the municipality. We're paid. We're one of the few boards that actually get paid a huge amount of money, as you know, but we get paid. I didn't mean to be too facetious, but nevertheless, the fact that we are getting paid by the municipality is kind of a built-in conflict of interest there sometimes. And in fact, there are only 19 questions of the 223 participants over 2 hours. I asked one of the questions was, should a mayor be a member of the police service board? And everyone said, nope. There's too much conflict of interest for a mayor to be a member of the police service board. Yet there are many mayors across Ontario who are members of police service board, and in fact, chair of police service board. They didn't say anything about deputy mayors, though, Sherry. So it's not. I don't think that was an issue. So to sum up, here is the solutions that they said should happen. And these are kinds of things for those of you going to the Ontario Association of Police School Service Boards. The school's still on my brain. The Ontario Association of Police Service Boards. Bring that up at the conference or webinars. Solutions. One is independence from all levels of government. It was and the people who were talking about these things were people like the former chief of police of Toronto, the former chair of the Toronto Police Service Board, and all across Canada, big shots about how this should be handled. They said, give us total independence, this kind of way that judges have independence in terms of what they do. Secondly, train and support members on how to do things and understand their role. Again, who would want to be a member of police service board if you have put in all this time? But I think that was a significant point. Thirdly, provide a professional service staff. It's almost saying we need another bureaucracy in order to help out the police service boards, and I think that is important. And finally, it said we should have enough resources and support to be able to understand what the difference is between governance and operations, because there are kinds of overlaps between what some would consider governance and some would consider operations and vice versa. So it was interesting. It was eye-opening, and thank you for listening.
Great, thank you. That was a very informative update. I appreciate that. Thanks. Any questions
It
around
only
that?
took 5 minutes is all it took. That's what I wanted.
No,
Right.
it was a great update, so I appreciate that. Yeah.
Through you,
worries.
Madam Chair, one of the things that the board actually should consider, I know it, we do have the funds to attend these OAPSB webinars or actual in-house type conferences. A lot of good information is passed on from different boards that are in attendance, and certainly at least one member should be going on an annual basis to these conferences to be able to look at what other services are doing. I know we struggle with the bylaws, and we also struggle with the policies. A lot of these, or some of these services, do have strong policies in place already that are tailored towards what's coming with the community safety and police governance that is upon us to replace the Police Services Act. So the more contact you have with these individuals and these services throughout the province, the more we benefit from some of their initiatives. And I think it's a good thing for at least one board member to attend. And then report back similarly to what we've done here. And that's a great report from the member as far as what some of the deficiencies are amongst other boards across the province.
Okay, thank you. And certainly I agree with everything you said. I think, I was being a bit facetious when I was talking about the cost of going to the conference, but the local conferences are just as important, and we should be going to them, And when I was on the board earlier, I went every year of the 5 years I was there, and I found them to be very worthwhile to go. So thank you for that comment.
Yeah, great. Any other comments, questions? Okay. All right. Bobby, do you have a resolution for those, please?
That the Aylmer Police Services Board adopts correspondence items A to D of the March 8th, 2022 agenda.
All right, and mover.
So moved.
So seconded.
All right, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
And that is carried. Thank you. All right, next item is closed session, which we have none. Next meeting date is April 12th, and our final resolution, Bobby.
That the Aylmer Police Services Board does now adjourn at 6:33 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
All right, and all those in favor? And that is it. Great. Good meeting. Thank you. Thanks for everyone's input. It was great.